Good morning, everybody. So, as promised, here is the third segment of my story that I have labeled Healing. We're going to talk about my healing process and my family's healing process. Miranda was murdered just 4 days before her 4th birthday, and I had already planned her party. I had a long 6-hour drive back from New Orleans after getting the devastating news that Charles had murdered her. And as you can imagine, my body and my brain was in complete and total shock, as were my family and all of my friends. By the time I made it home the next day, I left in the middle of the night because it took that long for confirmation that Miranda had been killed, and then I had to drive 6 hours home. And by the time I made it home, it was 5:30 in the morning, and my parents were already there. Tons of friends were already there. And I just remember collapsing in my mother's arms. And then after that, she just held me, and I just laid on the couch like a blob. I could not function. I couldn't comprehend what had happened. And the brain, I think our bodies are amazing machines, and our brains, when so much trauma occurs like that, our brains have a way of protecting us, I think. And so my healing process was a slow process, and as it should. I remember initially, after the funeral and after everything had calmed down, that I knew that I needed grief counseling. I needed it. I did not know how to do this. I did not know how to do it in a healthy way. I did not know how to grieve, and I didn't understand what was going on with my brain and my body. Jeff and I had only been married for 3 weeks, and it was devastating for him and our marriage. So I found an amazing grief counselor. My parents and I and my family, my brother, we went to a grief counselor and started family counseling, and I started seeing my own counselor at the time. And I really want to let you all understand that therapy and counseling to get you through trauma is so very important. It is so important because I truly believe that it is what put me on the right path. And I found this amazing man who put me on that good path. And then I met an amazing woman, another counselor who I love, and her name is Rose, and she helped me through the first 3 years of losing Miranda, and she too put me on the right path. It's all about self-discovery. People wanted me to get on drugs, like I needed drugs, I needed all of these things in order to get through, and I did not want drugs. I did not want sleeping pills. I did not want anything that altered my brain, because I knew in order for me to come out of this on the other side healthy, I needed to face what had happened. And I am just that type of person. I am the type of person that when there's a problem, I'm going to face it. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to think about it. I've never been the one to drink or take drugs or find other things to do besides think about. A lot of people do that, and that is how they grieve. We all grieve in our own different ways, but I knew I needed extensive therapy to get through it. So after we started therapy, Jeff and I started therapy together, and my parents, we all went to family counseling. I had an amazing support system, y'all. I want you to understand that I had so many friends and family that lived through this nightmare with me right up before the murders, all through my ordeals with Charles. And that is key to survival, key to healing for someone who has been through a trauma like this. And I'm here to tell you, there are so many victims of domestic violence who do not have that support system because their abuser has isolated them so much that their friends and family give up on them. They give up. They're tired of her going back. The police are tired of being constantly called. And that is one of the tools the abuser does, is to isolate his victim so that she has no one that she can call on. I had an amazing support system. My family, my parents, my mother, my parents spent the night with me. They took care of me, and I was a grown woman. After that, I remember the day I laid Miranda in the ground. And I remember standing in my grandmother's kitchen. And I remember saying to my whole family that Charles Sally was not going to have the last word. He was not going to do this to me. He was not going to steal the joy and the happiness that I had and that I deserved by starting a new life. The reason why Charles killed Miranda was strictly out of revenge. And he leaves that on his suicide tape. He kills Miranda because he despised me and my mother, the one woman who protected me through all of this. He kills Michelle, and on his tape he says, because if I can't have her, no one will. And I swore that day that he was not going to win. He was not going to win. I was going to have the last word, and I was going to tell this story to the whole wide world. Nobody listened to me when I begged for help. Maybe this time someone will listen. After we buried Miranda, my days were spent trying to process. I went to work just a week after Miranda died. Jeff went with me, and he sat with me every single day for 2 weeks. I could not function. I could not work. I did not know how to live life. And ultimately, 6 months after Miranda died, I quit work. And I decided to stay at home. I needed to figure out how to get through this. I was also pregnant with my son, just newly pregnant. During all of this, from that point on, my family and I went on a crusade. We thrust ourselves into our community, bringing more awareness to domestic violence. I was going to shout it out. I was going to tell the world and hold the judges and attorneys, the parole officer, the everybody, the fire department. I was going to hold them accountable for doing nothing to save that precious child. My family and I began speaking at vigils and at churches and at every domestic violence event for 3 years. For 3 years, we worked hard. Helping others helped us to heal. And I'm here to tell you, this is not something that you heal completely from. You don't heal completely from such trauma. I think helping others and giving other victims of domestic violence hope helps me. It helps me, and it helped my family. We went on a crusade. When Miranda died, I started receiving cards in the mail. I was receiving cards and money from strangers. Because when something like this happens, people generally don't know what to say. And so in order for them to express their condolences and their sadness, they sent beautiful, lovely cards and poems and money. And I took this money, that after writing all of my thank you notes, and I opened up the Miranda Trust. And I took that money and put it in the bank. And we put that money back into our community. We printed magazines, we organized a 5K run, we put up billboards putting the Post-Separation Family Violence Relief Act with Miranda's face. We spent that money and put it back into our community to bring more awareness. My mother did some amazing writing and some amazing speaking engagements. I remember as soon as Tanner was born, we put him in his car seat and we kept fighting and we kept working. I never stopped. And I made a promise to Miranda that I would never, ever let anyone forget her. Miranda has been gone for nearly 22 years. And what I need people to understand is that healing is how you heal is your choice. I don't speak a lot about my religious beliefs, my spiritual beliefs, because everyone has their own thoughts and feelings. My church family was amazing. They were so loving and encouraging, and I couldn't have made it through those first few years without my church family. I knew that I had to sit with it and process it, and it was hard. After a year after Miranda was gone, I did file a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Bossier City and my attorney at the time, and I lost. They didn't think Miranda's life was valuable enough. They didn't think Miranda's life was valuable enough to let me know that Charles had tried to hire a hitman back in 1996. So I lost the lawsuit. In the meantime, I had my beautiful son Tanner and my amazing daughter Emma. And ironically, 2 weeks after we got the news that I had lost and I was getting nothing, the universe stepped in and said, "It's time for you to leave. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to concentrate on your children. Go and cultivate your marriage. It is time. You have worked so hard." And we got our orders to England, and I left the country for 7 years. During those 7 years, actually during 13 years, I devoted my entire existence to my children and to my husband and to being a military wife and mom. I did not work. I stayed home and I raised 2 amazing children because I knew that that is the one thing that I was good at. And being with them was like having a second chance, a second and a third chance to be an amazing mom. Miranda will never be forgotten. Tanner and Emma have always known their sister. I've never kept any of these things from them. They are loving and supportive children, as my husband. And they have never been put in the shadows. They have never been put in the background, because for 13 years, I didn't speak about it. I didn't talk about it. I talked about it some, but I didn't go and push my story out there. I was busy raising a family and being a mom and a wife, and I needed that for my own healing. Then when we moved to Minot, North Dakota, back in 2016, I was there a year. And then someone, an amazing friend, Christy, saw my Facebook page, and she said, "Oh, you've got to do this. You have got to get out there and share your story." And so I did. And really in 2016 is when I decided that my children were grown enough. I could concentrate on this mission, this journey that is mine, and I can really do what I've always wanted to do, and that is to advocate for victims of domestic violence, for women and children, to give them hope and to let them know that joy and happiness is still there. It's still there and it's still out there for you. It's a long process. It's not an easy process. People have asked me so many times, how did you get through the murder of your child? How do you get through that? And my answer is always this: what choice did I have? What choice did I have but to figure out how to find happiness and joy again? I have found happiness and joy. I am joyful, and I have lived an amazing life. I have always promised Miranda that I will never, ever let anyone forget her name. She was precious. She was a part of me, and I will never stop telling her story. It's really not about me. In all honesty, I think for some reason, I was left behind for a reason. Not only did he kill Michelle and Miranda, he tried to get his son from school because he was going to kill him too. But the school would not allow him to check his son out. He was in a different county. So it's just a process. I didn't have a choice. Jeff and I had only been married for 3 weeks. And here I was, standing there looking at this amazing man, thinking, what am I going to do? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you so much for being supportive. And I appreciate every single one of you, every single comment, every single private message, every single supportive, because I'm here to tell you, it's not easy. And I haven't always had amazing support. There are people out there who do not support me in my mission, in this journey. They don't. But those of you that do, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means the world. But I want you all to know that I am there for you. I am there for all victims of all different kinds of abuse. Have a wonderful day.